Zod vs. Superman in Man of Steel is hands down the greatest comic book movie fight ever put to screen, and the closest we'll ever get to a live-action Dragon Ball Z fight. Even if you don't like the movie Man of Steel and disagree with the characterization of Superman, there's no denying that this fight is amazing. But what makes a fight scene good? Because a fight isn't just punches or the cool action scenes. A fight is very different from an action scene. While action scenes focus on spectacle, chases, explosions, and general mayhem, that's not to say a fight can't have those things, true, but a real fight tells a story. A good fight is very difficult to write. You must be able to tell a story without using words that both evoke emotion out of your audience and is character driven, where the combat is personal and reveals something deeper about the characters involved. It's not just about random destruction or chaos. It's about using the physical language of combat to advance the story and show who those characters really are. But what specifically makes this fight, Zod vs. Superman, the best fight? Let's break it down using the traditional structure of a well-crafted fight scene. The setup, the rise, the climax, and the resolution. Before a fight can even start, you have to set the stage. This includes the obvious. Who are the opponents? Where are they fighting? And why are they fighting? That's the most important part. The why, aka the stakes. You need to establish what is at stake. Usually the higher the stake, the more invested we are. But what constitutes a high stake? The end of the world seems like the highest possible stake there could be. But if we know the world won't end, does it really even matter? It's the more personal stakes, the personal motivations that drive each character into combat that really matters. A fight is never just physical, it's psychological and emotional. And of course, you need to understand the relationship between the fighters, whether it's personal, ideological, or driven by survival. All of this creates the foundation for a fight that is not just exciting but meaningful. By rejecting his Kryptonian heritage, Clark is basically killing any chance of reviving his own species, and he knows it. And the hatred that Zod has towards him because of it is palpable. Both are driven by their beliefs, yet their very existence is a threat to each other. Zod, like all Kryptonians before Superman, was created in a birthing matrix, with their life's purpose being ingrained in their DNA at conception. Zod's purpose was to protect Krypton. He inherently cannot function without a Krypton to serve and protect. What makes this even more compelling is the fact that Superman has the genetic codex of every Kryptonian DNA in his body, so Zod cannot kill him, leaving Zod with only one option. He wanted to die, and due to his new powers, only one person could kill him, and that was Superman. Zod had to make Superman kill him. Superman is fundamentally opposed to Zod in every conceivable way. Clark was the first natural Kryptonian birth in centuries. He never knew Krypton. He got to have a childhood, the choice to choose who he wanted to be and what he wanted to do with his life. He's torn between his Kryptonian heritage and his love for Earth and his family. By rejecting Zod's plan, Clark is sacrificing the revival of his species and the only other person who could ever truly relate to him. So when Zod and Superman clash, it's not a simple battle of good versus evil. It's two men who fundamentally disagree with each other's very existence and who both have everything to lose. The emotional weight behind their punches is what makes this setup so important. The fight isn't just a physical confrontation, it's an ideological one, and that's what elevates it. As any good fight progresses, the action must rise. It's not enough to simply have the characters trading blows. You need to keep escalating the tension and the stakes. In Zod vs. Superman, the escalation is handled masterfully. At the beginning, Zod is struggling to adapt to Earth's atmosphere and gravity. He's overwhelmed by his new superhuman abilities, and Clark initially has the upper hand. But as the fight continues, Zod starts to adjust. He learns how to harness his powers, and the balance shifts. What started as a somewhat one-sided battle quickly evolves into an evenly matched fight between two godlike beings. And truly, this is where this fight elevates and separates from every other comic book movie ever. We actually see two gods, what it looks like in real life to watch two gods fight on Earth. The destruction grows more intense, with buildings collapsing and the city of Metropolis falling apart around them as they trade blows, moving at supersonic speeds. This is what it means to have two superheroes fight. When I mentioned Dragon Ball Z earlier, this is what I meant. It's in this sequence here. You see the fluidity, the beauty of it all. This movie is over a decade old, yet visually it still holds up because the combat is palpable. When you compare it to other comic book movie fights, none of them have the gravitas that this fight has. They are entertaining, they all have weight to them, but the sheer spectacle and power, when you see two titans fighting, this is how it should feel. The only thing that comes close to this, again, is Dragon Ball Z, a fight between Goku and Vegeta. Even without the fate of the world at stake, you could feel the power behind it. Everyone should shudder at the sheer magnitude of power at display here. And this shift in power dynamics is key to Escalation. The audience feels the rising tension because Superman is no longer in full control. Zod, who is now fully aware of his abilities, becomes more dangerous by the second. As they crash through skyscrapers, throw each other through buildings, the scale of destruction amplifies. The fight moves from the streets to the sky, showcasing the immense power these two beings possessed. Every punch and every throw becomes more impactful as the consequence of their battle becomes more severe. And the fight again pushes the story forward. It may seem like meaningless action, but it's actually world building at its finest. Here we learn a lot about the upcoming DCEU. We learn of the existence of Lex Luthor, of Bruce Wayne. Even before Batman v Superman was even a movie concept, Bruce Wayne, Batman existed in this universe as well as Lex Luthor. The fight establishes the lore of the world, builds it out even more, while giving us this intense sequence of visual beauty. But every great fight needs a turning point where the momentum shifts, stakes are redefined, and the emotional weight of the conflict reaches its peak. The turning point also highlights the emotional core of the fight. Zod's rage stems from the loss of his people and his entire way of life. In his eyes, Superman's refusal to side with him means choosing humanity over his own race. On the other hand, Superman's struggle becomes more pronounced. He's fighting not just for humanity's survival, but also his own beliefs, rejecting his Kryptonian heritage in favor of Earth. His life, his choice. The battle moves into tighter spaces like the train station, where the destruction feels more personal and immediate. Superman is forced to confront a terrifying truth. The only way to stop Zod is to kill him. This is where the emotional weight of the fight hit its peak, driving home the moral dilemma Clark faces. The climax of Zod vs. Superman's fight is one of the most emotionally charged moments in Man of Steel, where everything comes to head. After an escalating battle that levels much of Metropolis, the two end up in a confrontation that is not just physical, but deeply moral. Zod, with nothing left to lose, unleashes his final deadly move, attempting to kill a group of innocent civilians with his heat vision. This serves no greater purpose in Zod's plan but to goad and force Clark into the one decision he has to make. This moment forces Superman into an impossible decision. Up until now, Clark has been trying to contain Zod without crossing a moral line, avoiding the one act that would permanently separate him from his humanity, taking a life. This is where the real climax of the fight occurs, not in the punches or destruction, but in the choice Clark is forced to make. Zod's relentless attack pushes Superman to his breaking point, and the tension here is almost unbearable. Zod is taunting him, declaring that he will never end as long as he lives, making it clear that the only way to save humanity is for Superman to end his life, feeding into Zod's desire to have Clark kill him. Had Zod wanted to really kill the humans, he could have. He could have turned his eyes, he could have flipped Clark over, but he was forcing Clark into one position. Everything Zod has ever done has been for the sake of Krypton. And at this point, Zod and Superman cannot exist. The future of Krypton is Superman. Zod, being a relic of the past, must be extinguished by the future. In terms of fight structure, this is the moment of greatest emotional and narrative impact. The entire battle has built up to this decision, making the stakes feel personal and overwhelming. Superman isn't just fighting Zod, he's wrestling with his own values and the legacy of what it means to be the protector of Earth, but more truly, what does it mean to be human? This decision is what makes the climax unforgettable. Superman's scream of anguish as he kills the last of his kind. Saving humanity is a powerful resolution to the battle. The fight ends not in a victory, but in a tragic necessity, leaving a lasting emotional impact on both the character and the audience. For good or for worse on the audience part, but it still left a lasting emotional impact on us. The resolution of the Zod vs. Superman fight in Man of Steel delivers one of the most poignant and controversial resolutions in comic book movie history. After Superman makes the devastating choice to kill Zod, the physical battle is over, but the emotional aftermath is just beginning. This moment redefines Superman as a hero, someone who has to carry the weight of making an impossible choice, a burden no one else can bear. In the immediate aftermath, we see Clark's visible anguish. His scream of despair is more than just grief over killing Zod. It's the realization that despite all his powers, he was unable to find a resolution that didn't involve ending a life. The emotional fallout of the fight is very heavy because Clark didn't just stop a villain. he killed the last surviving member of his race. This ties back to the personal stakes of the beginning of the battle. Zod represented Krypton, and by taking his life, Superman has severed his final connection to his people. And with his embrace to Lois, he's fully embracing his humanity, showing us the beginnings of the Superman we all know and love him to be. But guys, that's just my thoughts on Man of Steel. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. And what fight do you think is the best comic book fight? If you disagree with me, let me know in the comment section. And I plan on making more videos breaking down other comic book fights. I'm gonna dive into my favorite MCU fight of all time. So if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comment section below. And guys, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and check out some other videos I have on this channel. Until next time, peace.